In creating the template for our Endcap, there are several components. First of all, it's the display itself at the end of an aisle in the store. So here's the aisle, and at the end is going to be your display. We have 6 feet of display. Some of it will be made up of shelving. We'll just put this shelving in for now, but you're going to change that to suit your concept. We also have to look at things close up. So we're going to select portions and highlight them outside and bring them up really close so that we can see the details. We want to have something interactive. For mine, for my spices, I'm going to have a display that you can choose a menu, and on the menu it's going to be a touchpad, and you can select a recipe. You can put in what you're interested in. For example, I have type 1 diabetes, so I'm looking for spices that would help me with my blood sugar levels, and cinnamon is one of those. So it's going to pop up. You remember my idea is all about making smoothies. So it's going to show you, it's going to pop up and show smoothies that would work with my spice cinnamon and help with my blood sugar levels. Okay, but the first place to start, you're on your great huge 18 by 24 cartridge paper. I can't show you the whole thing, otherwise we won't be able to see the details here, but that's what I have. Your first job is to place your 11 by 14 inch marker pad over. Now you remember why we do that. We want to make sure that everything we put in here is going to fit on our marker paper, because ultimately we're going to be rendering these things. So we have to make sure they're going to fit. Everything's going to fit. The next item is this, our measuring line. Measure 6 inches. That's all it is 6 inches. And when you place this 6 inches, if you want to know exactly where I have mine, I have it 2 1/4 inches in from the edge of my paper size, and it's about 1 1/8 inches down from the top paper line. We want to have some space. I know you can't really see this. I had to work it out ahead of a time because, as you know, my big fat head keeps getting in the way here. So to avoid that, I had to put these pencil lines down so I can approximately get something straight here for you. So I'm marking off 1 inch increments, and each of these increments represents a foot. So you start with 0 at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have a 6-foot aisle, and at the end of it is our 6-foot display. Now, we need an eye level and a vanishing point, because this is in 1 point. Just like our countertop display, it's in 1 point. It's going to give us the best chance of being able to view our display well. At 5 feet, I'm going to put our eye level. Now, the reason that I've chosen 5 feet is because that's kind of an average height for the standing eye level. Women are the ones that do most of the shopping, so if the woman is about 5'6", 5 feet is probably her eye level. So there's our eye level. And to get this particular angle, I came in about 1/4 of an inch from the edge of my paper, maybe 3/8 of an inch. As long as you're somewhere in there, and you put your vanishing point. This is our eye level. You'll be able to get an approximation of what I have here. The idea we have is to bring this all forward about 1 5/8 inches from the bottom line where we put our paper. 1 5/8 inches. So let's go. We'll just start and pull these forward. Line your ruler up with your vanishing point and bring everything forward. Now, you won't have a line. I was going to put the line out the front, but you won't have that. So if you're working in pencil, just go too far. You can always erase. If you don't go far enough, that's going to be a problem. Now 5 feet we don't have to worry about. That's already there. Let's do this. And we're going to put the figure in, but I want to do this first, and then she's going to be there to show us scale. So you bring your perspective lines down. Now, as I mentioned, you want there to be at least about 1 5/8 so that when you bring your ruler along, you'll know where to stop this line. I don't know if you can see, but my line went further, but I chopped it off when I'm going to chop it off when it gets to be 1 5/8 inches. As long as you have a nice bit of space at the bottom, whether it's a little bit more, a little bit less, it's not really going to matter. I'm going to go right over her because she doesn't exist for you yet, so she will later. If this is a foot, at this point on my drawing, let's see, I'll mark it on my paper. I don't have to know exactly what it measures. I'm doing relative scale. See how much more? It's about a half more than what it is at the back. And that's what you want. You want to see, by using that vanishing point in this eye level, how much larger this would appear closer to us. And that's how much more. Now that I know what 1 foot is up here, at this point on my drawing, I turn it sideways and I give myself that same measure here and here. And now I know that I have a box that's 1 foot high and 2 feet wide. So I can go ahead now and draw that straight across. You might want to draw the line first and then do your measure. Either way is fine. I can do the rest of my verticals. I've got a vertical here. And I can draw this at the top. Now, for convenience, we'll put our shelves at 1 foot increments. So here's my bottom shelf. Next one up at 2 feet. Next one up at 3 feet. Then 4 feet. I'm trying to keep these straight, but I don't know how well I'm doing. We want them to go 1 foot back. You can't take that front measure back. What you have to do, if this is a foot and we only want to go a foot back, you find half and you use less than half. So this is 1 foot. So I go half. What's half of that foot? And what's less than half? Don't forget to mark where it should end. And now I turn it sideways, and there I have a line. So believe it or not, this now is 1 foot back. I have spices, so I only need a foot. You may have need for much deeper shelf, so you can do it. I'll show you how to do a little bit more. So that's 1 foot back, and I'll show you how to do more. But before we do that, we have to go in and put in the depth of the shelves. Now, to find the depth of the shelf, you line up with your vanishing point and take this corner and you go back. Now, this will give me another vertical, so I need that vertical. And try to keep it as straight as you can. There's my other vertical. 1 foot back, 2 feet wide. So I go to my next shelf and give that some depth. And then you see where the perspective line crosses the vertical, you go across. Now one way to speed this up is to put this vertical in, and you see they line up. So these line up. So now when I take this one back and I go across, they will line up. This conjunction of all those lines will help me to get this all to line up. Now, as I mentioned, I'm having trouble reaching this really well, but so mine is not going to be as straight as yours will be. So do your best to keep everything lined up nicely. This is at the eye level. And at the eye level, it creates a straight line. So I'm not going to see either underneath it or on top of it. Here you see, we could see the tops of all the shelves. More as it got more and more below our eye level. But we couldn't see this one, neither the top nor the bottom, because it's lined right up with our eyes. The top one we can see the underside though, so we'll go in and do that. Come across this way, where those two line up, and then we've got this one. I should have gone all the way to the top here. I didn't go all the way to the top, so I got it a little bit crooked here. Okay, now you can work in pencil. I had to work in ink, so you have a hope of seeing what I'm showing you. If we want to go back another foot, supposing you have something and you need 2 feet deep, find the middle. So we found this was our middle, so that's 1 foot. We want to bring another foot back. If you find the middle, use your vanishing point, and everybody should do this, just in case you need to. Then you find the middle. So this line is this line, and that's the middle. We use the vanishing point to bring it back. All you have to do is go from this corner through that middle, and where it touches this perspective line will give you another foot. So here's where it touches for that second foot. And we can put that in as a dotted line since we're not sure whether we're going to need it or not. And just continue with your vanishing point. And you'll see that now we know if we wanted to, we could go back 2 feet. This is important. It may not seem important, but it is, because you want to be able to make this accurate enough in terms of proportion, so that supposing your client does want something like this, you can design more accurately. If you're just designing sort of pie in the sky, anything goes, then when it comes to producing it, you'll have to rethink everything. So it's all part of the planning. It also gives you an inexpensive way to see how it's going to work out before you spend any money on it, or any additional time, or all of these things are custom made, so they take a lot of time, they take a lot of money to build, so you don't want the customer spending money on things when there could very well be a mistake. There. Now this second foot is very shallow, but put it in anyway. We want to be able to see it. That's pretty much all we need now for our display. We've also got a charming lady here, so we're going to put her in as well. She needs our vanishing point too. We're going to make her 5.5 feet tall, as I mentioned. So on my measuring line, I've got 5.5 feet here. I'm going to use my vanishing point to bring that forward. And then, where do I want her to stand? I want her to stand right beside my display. So I'm drawing a line across from where I want her standing, because she's just come upon it and she's signaling to someone, look at this. So that's between her 2 feet. That's where I want her to stand. If I take a line down the center of her, that will get her standing in the right place. There's a quick way to set up a figure. And whether or not you make it into a croquis figure, a fashion model figure, or one of the normal healthy types, depends just on how wide you make them and how slender you make the limbs and the figure. Essentially, the quickest way to do it is you give yourself a line, just like the one we have. You divide it into half. You divide the top part into thirds. And you divide the bottom half into half. And the bottom half here is the bottom of the knee. This is the crotch. The waist is below the top third. This is the shoulder, and then the shoulder has triangle shapes above. Then you have the neck, and 3/4 of this top third is head. So then you get the neck, the slope of the shoulders. This is the waist, so you taper the figure down to the waist. This will work for men and for women. You just alter the shape, complete kind of a panty line to make it look like the proper length of leg. If you don't, the legs look stumpy. And see, that's very quick. And then when you shape the bottom, remember this curves out, this curves in. So there's kind of an angle like here. Curve on the lower, curve on the upper, and then it comes down, and you've got ankles go the other way, the high bone on that side, the low bone on this side, and you just round them out at the bottom. And you watch your symmetry. What you did on one side, do on the other. Just echo that. And simplify. Now, the other tricky part is arms. Arms are attached to your body like that. So don't stick them out from the shoulder. They actually kind of come from in your body, don't they? So you put them out now. The waist is where the arm comes in. So you can draw this on a 1/4 sheet of your cartridge paper and keep it as a guide for, put it on the back with this other work to show that you have had a chance to play with this idea as well. Now hands, you got to be careful. You don't want to bring them too far down, just down far enough. We don't want her to look like an ape or something. So now breasts go below the armpit, so you know that if you have them, they're not way up there. Lots of times people put them way up too high. And then any hair is on top, so and then you refine. So it's, yeah, you gotta be careful not to put those too high. I always make that mistake. And hands, you just kind of do something simple. Don't make it too complicated. Okay, so that's how you go about that. So halfway is the crotch. So halfway meaning halfway between the whole figure. Then we did thirds. So 1/3 is the shoulder. 1/3, 2/3, and the and oops, this was the other third here. 3/3. There's nothing at this third, but the waist is below. And then we did half, which is really a quarter of the whole thing, but we'll just call it a half of a half. And that's the bottom of the knee. And then the feet come down a little bit more because the heels are in perspective back a little further. So yeah, and then this is high like this, and the ankles go the other way, the bone. Okay, so she's a normal healthy type. Top of her head, bottom of her foot. Now what happens though if you want to divide this up accurately, but you can't measure? We need 3 parts, right? We need, well, first let's try dividing her in half. So I've got a line here that's about 7 and some odd thing down here. I can't even figure out what that is. It's kind of in between a whole bunch of stuff. So what you do instead is you extend your line out here, and I extend my line out the top. Not that we want too many extra lines because that's confusing, but we'll put them out there. And then you take your ruler, you line it up, and you find something that you can easily divide in half. So I'm lining up the top of my ruler with the top red line, this part of my ruler with the bottom, and I have 8 on an angle, on a diagonal. If I put 4 here, which is half of 8, and I bring it across, then put it here, that means now I have an accurate half of that. Now I do the same thing for thirds. So I need this half to go all the way across. Now I want to divide into 3, so I find something I can divide easily into 3. See, I've got some weird thing there. That's not going to work. So I just put 6. I can divide 6 very easily into 3. So line up the top of my ruler with the top line. My 6 down at the bottom. I put 2 and 4, and that's good. And then I bring it across and put a little mark. Bring that across, put a little mark. And now half. I just have half to do now. So there's 6. 3 is half of 6. So I just bring that across. From our little chart, we saw that the first third is her shoulder. That's nothing, but below it is her waist. Half of the whole thing is the crotch. And half to the bottom of the knee, half of this, or a quarter of the whole, is the bottom of the knee. Okay, and then her feet. Now, in this case, I have her at a 3/4 view. because she wants to turn toward my display. Remember, this is her shoulder. I've got her shoulders slightly angled. Don't forget these triangles that go up over the shoulder. There's her neck. Her neck is nice, gentle neck there. Remember, 3/4 of this is her head. So I've got her head. I'm going to put her eyes. There's the little indentation for her eye socket. Putting that there. I'm going to put her some nice hair. They always look nice if you put lots of hair. I don't know why. Well, I guess we all like to have lots of hair. And I'm going to put it a little bit higher than that. There's her jawline. There she is. The next one is this one, and the waist is just below. I'm putting in her rib cage. Now again, I did a little bit of drawing in pencil beforehand. Remember, these aren't under your arm. They're a little bit further down, so that I wouldn't get my big fat head in the way. So you can take your time and make the gentle curves of a female arm. And this lady's probably she's going to be gesturing. I've got her gesturing. You can have her gesturing if you like, or have her, she's going to be holding her purse. We have to dress her up. She can't stand here in her undies. To judge the length of her leg, you put in that panty line. It'll help you to judge whether or not you've given her enough leg or not. Then remember, this goes round. There's her thigh coming there. This is bottom of the knee, remember, bottom of the knee. She's in perspective though, so we've got to do that to the bottom of her knee. There, her shoulder. This is often what happens when you put one knee higher or lower than the other. The shoulder does the opposite, so you always watch for that. And that's kind of funny. Hair doesn't look right if you have a pointy kind of thing there. And now remember, this is low, this is high. So on the other side, you put that curve in. And the top of the foot is a nice gentle curve, and then it comes down. Then there's a little indent here, and then this is round. If you make this flat, it's not going to look right, so you round that out. And there's our bone on this side, and this is a little indent, and then you go round. Then this top is round, and you go round. And nice, show that this arm is folded, and you come over. There's a little bit of an elbow there, you can indicate that. And this hand is probably going to be on her purse. So I'm just going to, for now, put it here. So I've got it. Maybe we'll put it on her purse, but these directional lines are really important too. Her waist now is below eye level, so it's a curve that goes this way. We can put a marker there to show that we know that. So she's got kind of like slippery feet, but we don't need to put toes or anything. I don't know if she's going to have enough hair there. We might have to put some more. Okay, now for a hand over here, I'm just going to make it simple. Again, round. The figure's always round. And you don't have to put a space between every finger. Just you can put a little line that you don't complete. Sometimes it's just that part that makes it work. So you've got our display, we've got where our images are going to be, where everything's going to be. We've got our figures standing beside. She shows us the scale. If that's a 6 foot tall display, she's about the right height. She's looking pretty good. You can choose anything you like for our side cuts where we're going to show detail. For now, we'll just draw one right over the other, because we don't know which one we're going to sit on top of the other. So if I was putting this on top of that, I'd remove that. If this was going to be on top of that, which is unlikely, it's probably the other way around. So I thought I'd go small to large this way, large and then small to large this way. So this will show. So what I want is them to be able to have a touchpad here, probably in the middle of my blender cup. And what would be really nice is if the blender could change vegetables in it when you change whatever recipe we're looking at. That would be really fun, but I don't think the technology is there for that. Although there are things like magic mirrors and things like that that might do it. I don't know. We'll see. But so now I want to put this one in. And you can try, of course, try different ones and see which ones you like. You don't have to do it like this at all. Circles may not be suitable. Young professional women, I think, is who I'm targeting. So I think the circles would be okay. Although, this is really for your client, isn't it? It's really more for them, because they have to approve what you're doing and you want to impress them. But if you're talking to a specific target audience, they want to know that you're on board with that you recognize who's going to be looking at this after all. And then, of course, we have our beautiful, stunning arrows. And I'm doing this realizing the whole time that this may change, the placement of it may change, everything may change. But I just want to get a feel for it now. And then we're going to put, and when we color these, we can make them beautiful with our markers and our colored pencils. We can make them gradate from one color to another. They can be quite lovely. You want to put some type in as well. If you're using a ballpoint pen, remember to wipe off the nib every so often. I'm going to put some lines in for my type. So I've already penciled these in, but you know what will really help is if you decide on a size for your type, and then you put it on a piece of paper and just keep repeating it. So I'm going to have both uppercase and lowercase, so I need 3 lines. And I shouldn't have put that like that. I was planning actually to be able to make it less confusing by splitting these so I could see what the heck I'm doing. Of course, these won't be shaped exactly like that. They're going to be type, which is going to square off. It's not going to be angled like this. On a piece of paper, I chose the size I wanted for my type. So there is the difference between an uppercase and a lowercase. And I also put the space I wanted in between, so that every time I put it down, I could mark off what I wanted. And we're going to be putting our lettering in by hand, or using our drafting lettering, our architectural lettering. You'll forgive me if this is straight, hopefully isn't straight. But I think the best thing would be just to keep your lines separate. So obviously this is going to be very brief. It's not going to be a big statement. We'll just say, for example, that we have a touchpad, a recipe. I would say that I have a digital recipe finder and a screen for people to source what spice they would need for specific reasons. We wouldn't put specs or anything. That would come later. Right now, you're just pitching the idea that you would like your clients to invest. More and more people in stores now, they're going and they're expecting this. Also, there's a phenomena of all of these displays, and you can order right on your phone. So you don't expect everything to be in stock anymore. You expect that there's smaller stores, fewer aisles, and you order right in the store, and it may be delivered to your store, but you're not expecting to pick it up that day. That's another thing that's happening. Now, just as a reminder, we'll look at these again so you can see that if I really wanted 2 feet back, I would follow this in. Let's put this in just in case you want to have more space back here for something that you're doing. Or you may need more space for your 3-dimensional display, your interactive device. You may need more space for that. So we'll have a look at how to get that. Put this in dotted lines so we have something to go by. Now, we will be seeing our display in 2-point perspective later on when we draw our final step, when we put this all together and put it in a store, and we have our countertop display and we have our end cap in the same place. Now this we don't have. Now all of these shelves, you would give them double lines because they have thickness. Everything has thickness, so it won't look authentic if you just have a single line. So we better do that too as a reminder so you don't lose sight of that. But we will be drawing it in 2-point later, so not to worry. This one, we'll put it straight across as a straight line. So that will give us both the front and the side, this straight line. Just the way that straight line gave us both the front and the side. And then the last thing to do is to just erase all of your pencil lines, ink it in, and erase all of your pencil lines. So in fact, you saw my inking in stage. You'll need to do a pencil stage first, and then you ink it in and erase all your pencil lines. Now, just as a little rendering exercise, because we want to keep up with our rendering, we want to take Our Lady and put some clothes on her. Remember, when you take your paper out of your marker pad, remember to turn it over and use the back. It's always a good idea, remember, to put a little check mark on one corner of your paper so that you know you've got the right side. And it's good to tape her in place. We don't have to leave her taped in place, but we'll just leave her, put some tape so we can get a better angle on her. And you can dress her up any way you like. Okay, so we can start at the top. I've got kind of a page boy thing going on here for her. And it's best not to be too sketchy, but to be more deliberate. Remember, there's her eyes. And the more hair, the better, it seems. I don't know why, but it seems best to give them lots of hair. And I'm going to give her a V-neck. So it's very important to keep an eye on where your center line is. And I'm going to give her her shoulder. And you have to kind of show fabric folding over itself when you're doing a bent arm. So however you want to do that. And I'm going to give her a dress, I think. But you can dress her any way you like. I'm being too careful. It works better if you're not so careful. Just go with it. And again, I want her to have a purse, so I'm going to bring that down. And I want it to be under her hand. So you always have to think ahead of what goes in front of what, or you'll be caught short. And if you keep it kind of light at the start, you can always go over with a darker line. Now I've got her hand on the purse. And you don't have to put all those fingers in. And that's her waist. Skirts are below eye level, so just like her waistband, you have to think of them on a curve like that. So maybe she has a bit of a and maybe for her shoes we can give her some boots and a bit of a heel. When you do heels, slant them inward. They come in like that. Otherwise they'll look funny. And here there's a little maybe that, and we'll just put, maybe short boots would be nice on her. But you can put whatever you want on her. There. And here. Oops. That was in too far. I'll put that out further. That might help. Probably should put a product in her hand. That would probably be best, but we'll see. We'll do this for now. So this would have to change, of course, but for now. And then you can go back and make it a little bit, the lines a little bit thicker. I think it looks best if you put your thick lines on the outside and keep thinner lines on the inside. That way she reads as a silhouette. And we have to think too about why she's there in the first place. She's there for scale, so we get a feeling for how large our display is. Getting awful fat fingers. I missed a line there. There, she's got lots and lots of hair now. She should be happy. We don't have to put a face on her. She's small enough. We really don't need that.